The Nightingale and the Rose, a short story by Oscar Wilde. In this short story, we see few main characters. The nightingale, who is a bird, a student who is very naive and innocent and always thinks about a girl, and the third character is a young girl. And also, there are other minor characters. Basically, the whole show story is based on a kind of a fairy tale sort of situation where the birds and trees and butterflies talk. And also, by the end of the story, we understand that there are different types of love. It's very rare that we can find true or genuine love. The Nightingale and the Rose. This is Oscar Wilde's work, and throughout the story, we can see very important lessons for our lives. Let's go through kind of a summary or a main idea before we read the story. Oscar Wilde's work, titled The Nightingale and the Rose, has features of a fairy tale, but it also has elements of social satire in it because it's not only a story, but the writer criticizes the weakness of people. Wilde begins the story with a central character who is a young male student. As the narrative opens, the young man is looking out of the window. He dreams of a woman whom he believes has captured his heart. He wants to escort her to a dance, but she demands a red rose to accede to his request. So, at the very beginning of the story, we find that there is this boy crying and thinking because he needs a rose. But he cannot find a rose. But if he cannot find this rose, he cannot even go and dance with the girl that he loves. So it's a big problem for him. The nightingale is one who overhears a young man complaining about the young girl's refusal to dance with him. The young man is eager to give her a rose, but is unable to do so. Wilde structures the story so that the nightingale tries to bring the two lovers together. First, the nightingale visits the rose trees in the garden. Of all the types of roses, it is the white rose that tells the nightingale of a way to produce a red rose. The white rose adds a condition. The nightingale must sing the sweetest song it knows and sacrifice her life in the process. The nightingale notices that the young man is in tears and proceeds to carry out the instruction of impaling her heart on a thorn so that the blood can stain the rose. At the end of the student takes the rose to the young woman, only to be rejected again because another man, the chamberlain's nephew, has sent her some real jewels, and jewels cost far more than flowers. So what happens basically is that the nightingale, the innocent bird who symbolizes goodness and love, overhears a boy cry, and he and she thinks that here is a true lover. I should help him. So she goes from flower bush to flower bush in search of a rose, requesting to get a red rose. But finally, she understands that she has to sacrifice her life, and that is the only way of getting a red rose. And here she is ready to do that for the sake of true love. But when the flower is blossomed, the boy finds it and gives it to the girl, but she has already given in to material things. Another person, another young rich boy, has given her better things. So she has broken her promise to the younger student and she refuses it. The flower is finally crushed and it's thrown away. The boy goes back to his studies. So on one hand, the boy understands there is, no real love, but it's also problematic. There can be real love, at least rarely we can find it. But the problem here is that what about the sacrifice made by the bird? It was in vain. Whenever there are bad people in a society, whenever most of the people follow materialism, and when most of the people do not really think genuinely, honestly, and love faithfully, then real love cannot survive as well. The young man also no longer believes in love and throws away the rose. He returns to his study of metaphysics. The story brings out the hypocrisy of people and the false values of the society as well. Let's look at the engagement with the text. There is an initial conflict. The fiancé or the girlfriend demands a red rose as a token of love from the younger student. She looks for a red rose to please her. Is an immature and impractical demand, and therefore the young man feels desperate. What about the development of the action? The nightingale hears the appeal and visits three rose trees. The nightingale sacrifices her life for a red rose. Finally, the climax comes into being. The student finds that the red rose is there and it is presented to the girl. Number 4, falling action or the conclusion. The girl refuses the boy and the flower. Announcement of the newfound love and its advantage over the other because she has found an underage boy. Withdrawal of the student and returning to the study of metaphysics. The social comment that is made in the story. So it's a story about real love that cannot survive in a world of materialism where honesty is rare. As themes, the story looks at the theme of love mainly. The short story suggests that true love needs sacrifice. The nightingale sacrifices her life to make the others happy. The nightingale sacrifices her life to make the young student happy. Conditional love is seldom genuine. The story also brings out the theme of reason versus passion. Passion is a destructive element that brings waste, reigns over passion. Education. Theoretical education creates an unbalanced individual. There is human hypocrisy and deceit, materialism and romanticism. Real education is not only learning from a book, but learning how to live a better life with honesty. The nightingale and the oak tree are also important. The Nightingale and the Rose is a story in which the first character that appears is a student. The story opens with the character of the student, perhaps a student of philosophy. This young man is in despair because of the refusal of his love. The main characters, apart from the young student and the young girl, are animals or elements from nature, such as a little green gizzard and a daisy, a butterfly, a nightingale, a rose tree, and an oak tree. A nightingale is a small songbird that is often associated with love, innocence, romance, and it represents goodness and virtue. At a deeper level, the nightingale could be assumed to represent the author while and the student as ignorant society with its cynicism. At another level, the red rose could be taken to represent artistic representation and unrequited love, or the love that you cannot get. The symbols criticize society's lack of appreciation for the arts. A rose at a very superficial level is merely a flower. The oak tree seems to suggest the wisdom the student lacks. The girl apparently suggests materialism and superficial values. There are few literary techniques in the story as well. In the tale, Oscar Wilde uses many figures of speech to enrich the semantic expression. So we see personification of the trees and animals. We see symbolism to bring out love and materialism and hypocrisy. We also see lots of comparisons and a narrative style. So basically, this is a beautiful story that brings out a criticism of the society and false values as well.